Back once again with Erika Brown, the publisher and editor of The Cricket. How you doing, Erika?
Hey guys, how are you?
Great.
Good.
Okay, we have a huge list here you've given us this morning to go over. Let's start with the regional dispatch.
Okay, we're going to try to get through this really quickly because I tend to yammer. Okay, regional dispatch has been going on. Should Manchester or should Manchester not enroll in regional dispatch, which is a state-sponsored regional, what it is, emergency dispatch for public safety out of its facility in Middleton? It's been sort of the source of a lot of animated debate. They had their second public forum about it last week, and the Board of Selectmen are about to make a decision. What makes it kind of interesting is the Board of Selectmen was kind of handling this in a way that was kind of more of a measured kind of compromise. We'll probably have a human being waiting for you at the door, but it won't be true dispatch kind of thing because people don't want a dark, what they call a dark police station, which they're not going to have. But in the last couple of weeks, the anti people have kind of had a shift in momentum because Ipswich just turned down the invitation to join regional dispatch. So it'll be interesting to see which direction the Board of Selectmen go. It's literally comes down to saving money and also being able to keep up with all of the increasing software, because increasingly public safety is about technology and software. And it's very difficult for small towns to stay up on this expensive software. Also, they're having a double pinch in that police departments have to train their police departments now in the wake of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter and police reform. And that's going to come at a ticket price of, for Manchester, about $50,000 extra per year, I believe it is, to get everyone trained. So they've got this kind of financial squeeze. Ironically, the police are against regionalization and the fire department is for it. So let's see what happens.
Interesting. Okay, the SLV letter.
Yeah, exactly. The town. The last time we talked about this, I said it's gonna, it's going to the state. That's what I said, and the state is going to either issue a letter of, it's called a letter of eligibility, and SLV. This is to remind everybody. This is the 40B development up on what's called Shingle Hill. It's on Upper School Street across from 128, across from the property where the Manchester Athletic Club is. It's in the limited commercial district. That's where it is. So they got their letter of eligibility from Mass Housing. I believe that's where it came from. And that means they're going to the ZBA, and the ZBA is going to start this sort of domino. It'll take probably about 6 months, or it should take no more than 6 months. It's not supposed to anyway. And then it'll go through appeals. So it's literally on that. If you remember, I said it's going to be put on its own track, and that track is just going to happen. That's exactly where it is. That's what's happened. So I guess I was correct there. And it's on a track, and it's literally going on a track. The destination of that track is the state. It's Boston. So it'll go through the ZBA. And the truth is, if the ZBA approves it, which is highly unlikely, but maybe, who knows? If they approve it or if they don't approve it, it's still going to probably be appealed by one side or the other, which means it's going to Boston. So there you go.
So can I just ask, Erika, how about the promises that the developer had made to the town? Do those all get shelved, or does that go along with the process?
Well, that was all connected to a negotiation that was under the friendly process with the BOS, and those all went away. So they went away with the negotiation. Once the negotiation stopped, so did all of those goodies, which I think amounted to about $1.5 million, if I remember correctly, and they spanned all sorts of things. Now, in the ZBA process, apparently, and I'm not an expert on this, but apparently all those promises can be brought back. The ZBA can say, how about this condition? How about that condition? And the only thing that comes in, the state comes in, is the state says you can't make it uneconomic for the developer. And what does that mean? It means it takes away the trick or the tool that a town might use if they say didn't want a development. It takes away them putting in restrictions that would be so expensive that it's not worth the project. And that's sort of a trick. Oh, we'd like you to build a water park, not that that would ever happen, by the way, but we'd like you to do something really big. And so therefore the conditions and these kinds of goodies, I guess, for lack of a better term, have to be within a reasonable realm. So we'll see what happens. There could be no concessions or every single one that was talked about in the BOS, they could all come back.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Erika, what is up with the harbor master's new digs?
Oh yeah, Harbor Master. That's kind of been interesting. This is going back a couple years, but we talked about it in the town hall notebook because it's come up twice in 1 week. Okay, so twice it's back. First with the Harbor Advisory Committee meeting, and then with the Downtown Improvement Committee meeting last week. Bion Pike, our harbor master, his office, I'll just say this, his office is in a windowless 12 by 14 space in the basement of Town Hall.
That's a hard place to be.
I know it's a heartbreaking place to be, but most of the time you can find him at Reed Park and the harbor master's boat, so that's okay. But the truth is, that is his office. Now, we've needed to have a new office. Is it because it's windowless? Is it because it's small? No, it's not. It's actually for this reason, because his suggestion is actually to have his office, it's about proximity. It's about proximity because fundamentally a big part of his job, any harbor master's job, is public safety. You have to respond quickly to emergencies on the water. So he put it this way. He said, imagine if all the emergency calls into the police prompted the police to say, hey, I better get on that emergency, walk out of the police department, run over to Richdale's, hop in their car and go respond. Right? Yeah. It doesn't exactly. So he's basically saying the harbor master in every municipality that has a harbor master in Massachusetts, the harbor master's office is proximate to the actual coast, the actual water, the dock. And that needs to happen in Manchester. So years ago, there was a lot of work done, an engineering firm. They targeted Reed Park, which is where the sort of leisure boating is out of in Manchester's Inner Harbor. And there's some arborvitae that is really old. As a matter of fact, my husband's grandfather planted it, believe it or not, planted that arborvitae along the railroad tracks. And he's already, Bion Pike has already explored with the MBT if those arborvitae can be removed. And his idea is to put a harbor master's office in the exact footprint of the arborvitae. So it would be literally like 16 feet by 20 feet or something like that. So he doesn't have a very big ask. And as a matter of fact, it would be lower than the arborvitae. But anyway, that is sort of what they're going to re-explore. Why did this kind of get, put on ice from 3 years ago? It was really because, do you remember the Tux Point access dock failed? Yeah. And they realized it hadn't been inspected in the state since 1890 something. Remember that? Right. They lapsed their inspections, go all the way back to the 1800s. But anyway, so that became the priority. This would cost $400,000 to do. There's already matching state funds for 80% of the money, so it's pretty straightforward. My guess is it's going to be blended with the need for public restrooms for downtown, and they're going to look for a home finally for the harbor master.
Beautiful. All right, Erika, shifting gears to Manchester and Essex, the Rapid Recovery Grant.
Oh yeah, the Rapid Recovery Grant. That's been a really interesting process, mostly because I've participated in many of the meetings. This was something that Manchester, it was led by Sue Brown, the Manchester planner. She reached out to Matt Coogan and she led applying for this technical grant, which is sort of run by the state, and it's around COVID, and it's around, kind of rapid recovery for downtowns coming out of COVID, but it's really designed for permanent changes that would actually make a difference to the vibrancy of a downtown. And the grant wasn't about money. It was a technical grant, which means it's about professional services. You get access to experts, paid experts, consultants. So when this started, I was thinking, oh, this is great. Essex and Manchester's downtowns are going to get help with advice on how to do marketing. Oh, here's how to do a social media post. Oh, you should run a special on Fridays, that kind of thing. And I was thinking, well, that'll be helpful. That'll be helpful, especially if it doesn't cost anything. But that's what I thought it was. Okay, I was wrong. Here's what it was. And it was really much more kind of interesting. And it took me a while to get it, to be honest with you. We've got Brendan Zabricki who participates. He's the town administrator. You've got Sue Brown. You've got people from Town Hall. You've got Donna Roy and Jody Harris from the Essex Merchants Group has been a part of this. And then the retailers themselves and the restaurants, all getting together, talking with a consultant who specializes in how to package grant applications for economic development with the state. So what they're going to do is they're going to come up with, in the end, 3 from starting of about maybe more than a dozen ideas. They're going to reduce it to 3, and they're going to give us, meaning Manchester and Essex, joint applications for grants with the state that actually have been vetted and already have money attached to them to help the towns. It's really a wonderful program, actually. And what we're talking about so far, some of the candidates so far are how to come up with permanent programming for January, February, and March, the hardest time of the year for
Dead
downtown.
zone. Yeah.
Fantastic, right? Another thing is how to get money for an ombudsman, somebody who is an agent, an advocate at both towns in town hall for business. Neither town has that right now. That would be incredible. Signage, wayfinding signage in both towns. It's interesting. Manchester needs it for one reason. Essex really needs it for another, because remember, Essex just passed its downtown zoning this past year. So they're really looking to downtown to really kind of shape it. And they're looking for ways, and wayfinding right now is as digital as it is physical. So how do you pull people in and make them feel welcome and want to come back and have a great time? So I've talked a lot about it, but here's the bottom line. There is a public hearing about it this week. I would encourage anybody to participate because it's open to the public. It's the last meeting where these ideas are going to be presented before the consultant goes away and does all their work to give us the product at the end. It's a great example of the two towns working together in really sensible ways. I think this is a win-win-win.
Cool story. Okay, and lastly, a tip of the cap to Ken Davis.
Oh my God, Ken Davis, this is great. This is Small Business Person of the Year in Manchester, given by the Greater Cape Ann Chamber of Commerce every year. And this is for Essex. For Manchester. So they do Manchester, Essex. Next, it's going to be Jimmy Rumiliotis. He was on Thursday from Cape Ann Pizza. So I'm going to talk about Ken Davis from the Cape Ann Savings Bank. That was for Manchester. It was at the American Legion Hall. It was a great showing because he's a real character and comes from a really big family or an important family in Gloucester. And he's famous here in Manchester because he's one of the very few non-Manchester residents who is a member of the male-only Manchester Club. And one of his big things, a big popular thing for him is making the Portuguese pot roast once a year. That's a real big event for the Manchester Club. But anyway, that's not why he got the award. So he got it because he is the head of residential lending and the branch manager. Everybody knows him in Manchester. We all love him. He's fantastic. A real local, even though he's a businessman here. And we had 3 presidents, the great showing, 3 presidents of the Cape Ann Savings Bank who showed up. We had Bucky Rogers, Bob Gillis, and Marianne Smith, the brand new, bank president. She introduced him, and then Mayor Safatia, she came down to Manchester, which I've never seen actually, and you can tell she's a really close family friend, and that's why she showed up. She started off by ribbing Manchester correctly about Manchester by the Sea, the name. She said, "Oh, Manchester by the Sea. I'm from Gloucester by the Sea." And that really got a good laugh, actually. And then she kind of went into all the reasons why, Kenny is just such a great guy. So our hats off to him, our hats off to Cape Ann Pizza and Jimmy Rumiliotis as well. So there you go.
Great work this week, Erika. It's a thick newspaper, folks. Get yourself a subscription to thecricket.com. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
This episode of Cape Ann Today is brought to you by Bank Gloucester. Start here, get there.